My name is Brooks Robinson, and I'm an American married to a Ghanaian. I've lived in Ghana off and on for the past 35 years, and I'm now settled here. But 10 years ago, I lived in the beautiful city of San Francisco on the American West Coast. San Francisco isn't only beautiful, though. It's one of the most successful cities in the world when it comes to reducing the waste that gets sent to landfills. As much as 70% of San Francisco's waste is now recycled or composted. That's twice the national average and better than most other major cities. So what lessons might San Francisco have for Accra? There are several reasons San Francisco's been so successful. The most important is that the city has residents who care about the environment and are willing to do something about it. Also, the people of the state of California, which is home to San Francisco, have generally been concerned about environmental issues for decades. With their support, way back in 1989, the state legislature passed a law requiring all cities and counties in California to start reducing the amount of waste they send to landfills. In addition, San Franciscans are famously progressive people, and they often get involved in action for social change. And they have an especially strong tradition of caring about the environment. So you have these factors of strong environmental values, commitment by political leaders, and regulatory action. But success was also possible because the city government and the waste collection company worked at this as a partnership. And I want to mention that the waste collection company has done a very good job of finding buyers for its waste. California, for example, is a major agricultural state, and farmers are eager to buy San Francisco's compost. And the cost of doing all this is covered by income from the sale of the waste and the fees paid by residents. No extra taxes are required, and the fees that citizens pay are no higher than many other cities. It's important to know San Francisco achieved this success gradually. And the success also depended heavily on participation by residents, businesses, and other institutions, including universities. So in the mid-1990s, the city started by introducing voluntary recycling and composting. That way, people started getting used to the idea of doing this. A few years later, in 2002, with strong support from the citizens, the City Council decided to go even further than state law required, and it established a goal of reaching zero waste by 2020. Now, San Francisco has not reached that goal, but it's gone pretty far in that direction, and it remains very committed to doing ever better. 5 years after that, in 2007, the city banned all single-use plastic bags, and a few years later, they introduced a charge for people who were buying paper bags. And that charge is now 25 cents per bag. That's about 1.5 CDs. So that's a real incentive to get your own reusable bags. Then, in 2009, we saw the most significant change. That's when the city passed a law requiring all residents and businesses to start separating their waste. I lived in San Francisco from 2010 to 2012, when people were still getting used to doing all of this. So I had to learn how to do waste separation. And I had to figure out how to squeeze 3 separate mini garbage bins in my tiny city apartment. It was a challenge, but the educational material that the city sent out made it all easy to understand. Blue bins were for all recyclables. That's paper, glass, metal, and cardboard. The green bins were for compost. We had to use special bags that looked like plastic but that were compostable, and we'd collect our food waste, our kitchen waste in those. And black bins were for landfill, basically everything else. In addition, the city made available special bins in these 3 different colors for all households, apartment buildings, businesses, and schools. And each bin has a poster on it showing you what type of waste should go in which bin. On top of this, the city mailed every household this educational information about twice a year. Not just once, but they kept repeating it. This meant you pretty much couldn't forget how to do it. And you, here at the Accra Technical University, you might be especially interested to know that the universities in San Francisco were leaders in the waste management movement. They got involved early on. So, for example, the biggest university in San Francisco, starting back in 1998, diverted 7% of its waste away from landfills. Not a lot, but its performance improved year after year. So 20 years later, in 2018, the campus recycled and composted a whopping 78% of its waste. One last thing that was really important to the success was the extensive public education campaigns. These were done all along the way, and the messaging was repeated regularly. Everywhere you went in the city, you'd see the colored bins, you'd see the posters. So for San Francisco, getting closer to zero waste remains a challenge. Some residents aren't participating, so there's room to improve in that way. In addition, the city's population is growing, so the quantity of waste is also growing. And as you may know, more and more products are being packaged in plastic. This is a global problem. San Francisco can't solve this itself, but efforts are being made in California and elsewhere to pass legislation that would require all plastics to be fully recyclable by 2030. I think that would be a fantastic thing to see happen all over the world.
Welcome to the environment.
Night fam, I am about to shock you.
This is Kigali, the capital city of
Rwanda, and I'm surprised that there's no littering at all.
Look at me sitting inside a gutter eating without thinking of getting sick. This place is super clean. Look at the gutter, man.
Rwanda has developed so fast that it's called the Singapore of Africa. It has become one of the safest and cleanest countries, fastest growing economies, and now a model state to the rest of Africa.
So we are here to learn about your journey and the waste management service chain, right from generation, household storage, collection, processing it to the landfill site.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Association of Spouses of Heads of Missions here in Ghana, who invited me to be part of this discussion organized by Waste Management and Compositing Movements in Ghana. To share our story back at home in Rwanda. As part of our redevelopment, healing and transformation of our country, right from post-war and genocide, environment, cleaning, greening and conservation has been part of this. We are the most highly densely populated country on the continent, and we're also ecologically vulnerable because of our terrain. We have so many hills and valleys and mountains, and that we've been very intentional around the healing and the transformation of our communities together with the environment. And in that sense, we build as a team around the whole our transformation process. One is knowing that we have to own it before we go to look for aid anywhere else. What's my stake in this? What's my role and how can I deliver? So on that, government legal resources invested in establishing the right policies and laws and also institutions to support the implementation of those laws. Together with that, the community members, right from household level, also were mobilized and they took responsibility for cleaning their own homesteads, separating the waste, and also cleaning between their homestays and the next public space, separating the waste from bio to non-biodegradable, and contributing a fee to support the collection and transportation of this waste to the right dump site. Now, the infrastructure part of it, of the construction of the right dump site and the waste to be dealt with through that's done by government. And so, from the very beginning, this created a sense of ownership, a sense of pride, and a sense of feeling giving back better and willing to protect this. And finally, it has established a culture, and we are glad and humbled that it's working and moving us one step ahead every single day.
How were they able to put systems in place to make sure they get to their vision of becoming the cleanest city in Africa?
National Cleaning Day, not every year, but every month.
Were you paid to do Muganda today? Did they give you money to participate in Muganda?
No one who does pay me.
No one paid you to participate?
Yes.
So why do you have to do it?
I have to do this because I'm the citizen of the country, so
Thank you.
I have to do this to develop my country.
What I think we are lacking is the full-scale implementation of the actions that we've developed. And we've seen that they really have the milestones, implement whatever actions they've drawn up to that point, and then do an assessment, and if they have to review, they review.
It's good to have, but most importantly, the environment is clean. Keep up the good work.
Ghana, you can do it.
From Rwanda, this is Malik Majinedera reporting for BBN News. Welcome to the environment. Is it painful?
No. Now, Asankushia in the central region is famed for its cleanliness, as one hardly finds an iota of filth anywhere in the community.
Barrels painted in the colors of the national flag as well adorn the shoulders of the road here, serving as dustbins.
Yes, Asankushia, the cleanest town in Ghana. Let's see if by December 2021, Accra can compete with Asankushia. There are chiefs, there are embassies, there are churches, there are mosques, there are universities. How can all of them work together to make Accra the cleanest city? Let's help the president work for nature. Sanitation has dignity but no glamour. But in Asankushia, you have both dignity and glamour. Is nature not beautiful? What is preventing us from living clean lives?
Getting people to change their behavior doesn't happen overnight.
You know, sanitation is simply creating a system to make a place hygienic and neat. So you need to create a system. The creation of system involves providing facility whereby people will use.
San Francisco proves that change is possible. And maybe you, members of the ATU community here, maybe you'll become change leaders in Ghana. Thank you.